Hi, Sam. Can you hear me?
Morning, Calvin. Morning.
Yeah. Hi.
I can hear. Can
Um,
you hear me?
yes, I
All
can. I
right.
can hear you. Good.
Before
To,
you
good.
start, Calvin, before you start, I before I set my own business, I worked as a union rep, which was heavily involved with the NHS,
Oh.
and the wastage is frightening in
Mm.
terms of absence alone of staff. Frightening. These guys get 6 months full pay for their absence, and then they go down to half pay for 6 months. At
Right.
that point, at that point, the internal teams at the NHS then start to manage the staff. So, it's costing the taxpayer around £40,000 in sick leave alone. Never mind the cover.
How difficult? I mean,
So yeah, so
it's fantastic to look at this. We'll look at this very briefly, but on the NHS side, how many? So presumably, with such fantastic payment with sick pay, people are not only going sick at amazing levels, they are staying off for the whole duration of the 6 months.
yeah, oh, it was longer. I had to represent one employee once that had been off for 13 months, and they were only just starting to manage the absence at that point. So you're probably talking another 6 months before they've removed that person from the business, if they're going to at all. It's a huge cost to the taxpayer. You've got their wages and sick. You've got the management time spent managing it. You've got the cover that they're going to need because they need to hit safety ratios. And these guys use occupational health every single step of the way. In the private sector, 12 weeks and it would be done.
That's amazing. And did they look upon it in the strange way as a right that sick pay was actually, because it wasn't really being monitored, or being sick wasn't monitored, people would simply say, well, I'll take 2 days off next week, and then the following month, actually I can go away with my family, but without damaging my holiday entitlement and all that. Did they actually build sick pay into their working year?
I have seen that, yeah, I absolutely have seen that, and it always leads into mental health. It
Right.
always leads into mental health, and that researcher came out recently where I can't remember the number, but doctors had never actually spoken to patients. They just issued the mental health sick note, and that's really where that's where it starts in the management of it.
Right. So, Sam, let's just talk about the one issue which
Yes.
really dominates politics, really, which is the murder of and it, 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 it to me, we are at a crucial moment here because you can get copycats, you get all kinds of things. We've now got, whoever did murder, and if you look at all the backgrounds of these people, there'll be a lot of people like this kind of person living a quiet, totally off the grid kind of life. Nobody really knows, and suddenly, by the way, is then bright enough. Okay, supposed to have issues, bright enough to find an address, bright enough to drive 500 miles in a day to a remote moment, bright enough to knock on a door and do a whole load of, terrible things. I mean, it makes you wonder how many other people there are out there like that. There are 650 MPs out there, right? I would say all of them, in a strange way, need some kind of protection now. All right, it's a huge cost, but democracy surely entitles people to these kinds of protections. And the idea that Nigel Farage wasn't automatically given it, because once you're a high profile, spotlight permanently on you. Actually, a guy, I've actually been in a pub with Nigel Farage, actually an uncomfortable experience, because what happens is that whether you're pro him or anti him, everybody spins round, everybody knows you. You only need to have somebody who's had a few drinks over there and they come over and say, hey, I want a word with you, and all this kind of crap, right? It's a hugely, you'll end up living outside your voters, right? You end up feeling fearful, I think, all the time. What's your point on this, Sam? Well, your view, more interestingly.
I think we definitely need to look at the security and give these guys security. What they're doing is they're putting their head above the parapet, whether
Yeah,
it's Hannah Spencer in the Green Party or it's Nigel Farage.
yeah,
That bit doesn't matter to me, and I think everyone needs that equal protection because the opinion, the politics matter less. The safety of these people matter more. And I think when you look at Anne Widdecombe, for example, she's been a high profile politician for 30 plus years, or
Yeah.
she was, sorry. She was regularly coming onto programs like this, still, putting her political viewpoint across. And what really bugged me about the full thing is actually some people's response to her murder.
Yeah.
No MP, no politician deserves to be murdered. Why do a certain group of people think this is acceptable to celebrate someone's murder? Why?
Yeah, I read about that guy. Well, I'm sorry, I called him a guy. I don't want to cause a problem. The
Heather
transgender,
Herbert.
yeah,
Yeah.
right, web developer, works for Aberdeen University. We are now on I think, day 6 of him saying that I hope she had a painful death. He actually said she actually said worse than that. Can you imagine the other way round? We had a Conservative Reform administration, right?
No.
A senior, and on that basis, somebody had said from the right something about. Said something about on the left. Honestly, they'd be fired within the day.
Instantly. Yeah,
Within the
they
day.
absolutely-
How
they
is it
absolutely would.
acceptable? How is it acceptable? A week later, this person is still not. There has not been administration about their exit. It's impossible to understand. Our country is Aberdeen a strange place? It's just elected a Tory MP, for God's sake. Perhaps that's the problem.
My stance would be is, I have my own business. I have an HR consultancy for small businesses. And if that happened, the first thing I would say is we need to suspend Heather Herbert.
Yeah.
We need to suspend him.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's going to cause too much of a detriment to the university. And we then need to investigate it. But ultimately, he's not backing down on it. He's not back. He's doubling down on it. He's agreeing with it. And the problem I've got as a gay man is these people think they're speaking for all of us within the lesbian and the gay bisexual community. They're not. They are absolutely not. I am fed up now of sitting there and seeing people that sit on the right of politics that are gay being scared to speak up. Because that type of conversation where we say, aren't we glad someone's dead? I hope they had a painful death. That becomes the norm. And it feels like it's only over the past few years where that's really sort of started to develop.
So the BBC, they have a political programme. I didn't see it yesterday. And they invited on there some rather strange young lady who appears to be some kind of eco-warrior of some kind, and in which they were talking about Anne Widdecombe. And then she comes to the point. She said, well, I have to raise it with you that she wasn't popular with everybody. Yeah. Well, that's the whole point of politics. Thanks very much indeed.
What politician is?
Right, yeah. And then said she had a sad end. What kind of expression? So I would have expected the presenter to have said, do you mean to say she was murdered? She was bludgeoned to death. She was 78 years old. That's what you meant to say, wasn't it? Instead of that,
You would expect that.
it's just allowed. It's just allowed to exist. Oh yes, that was sad, wasn't it? Oh, poor old Anne, how sad that was, and all the rest of it. I wonder now whether our lefty establishment actually permeate all kind of our arms of the state, and the BBC is clearly an arm of the state. They should get themselves a new presenter.
And have you noticed as well that they have to turn everything back to Farage? So I've seen this where I've commented online, I've posted about it, and I'd put a status up saying, about this, how the left are celebrating someone's death is absolutely abhorrent. And straight away the left wing come flying in, and it's Farage. I never mentioned Farage. Yeah. Why do you have to bring everything in with Nigel Farage's name? I didn't talk about that. But, they turn around and go, well, did you see him? He was staring at the cameras as he was going to pay his respects, and it was all about him in front of the cameras. And I'm like, hello, if you've got 10 or 15 cameras in front of your face, where do you think you're going to look? It's all got to go back. It's all got to go back onto Farage this, Farage. No one's talking about this. What the whole point of what I'm trying to make is somebody has been brutally murdered who shouldn't have been, who was a high profile politician, and we've got to a point where we think, or not we, but the left wing think it's acceptable to say, yeah, but they were right wing, so it doesn't really matter. If I said that, if a left wing politician had died and I said that, I'd probably have the police at the front door right now.
No, I totally agree, man. I totally agree. It's amazing that I'll say this briefly, Sam, good conversation, by the way. We must have a longer conversation about this. I noticed yesterday the Times were reporting that Farage had said that he'd had 797 death threats since February, mainly on X, by the way. Can I just say, and that basically there were a narrow load of nutters who were basically wanted to kill him. If that had been a lady from Peterborough, right, she'd be serving a treble life sentence already. Why haven't they identified these people and arrested them, the cops? You know, there is a political feeling about what.
Why hide your identity as well? What are you scared of hiding? What you're trying to hide? Why, all of these accounts where it's some ridiculous name and it's not their picture, and put these abhorrent views out. The reaon why is they know what they're seeing is wrong.
Yeah, great. So,
otherwise,
Sam,
they'd just do it with their face.
I'm very sorry, Sam. I've got to go. I'm under the cosh here. Very good conversation. Good luck with your business, by the way. I love
Thank
it.
you.
I love it with So Sam runs a HR business for small companies. Small companies need HR advice. Don't worry about that. There's a lot of trouble out there. Caused mainly by bloody-minded employees, by the way, not bloody-minded employers. I just thought I'd say that. I'd throw that in for anyway, thanks very much. You've come to the wrong address if you think I'm going to start backing the union side of life. I must be honest with you.